don't call me handsome unless you're gonna give me. The 80s really were a wonderful time. If you're too young to remember the 80s like me, let me paint this pretty little picture for you, right? Big hair was the craze. And when we say big, we mean big. Perms were the way of the world, and bangs, curls, and feathers were all just plain huge. Neon colors were exploding in pop culture, and much like today, mullets were the in hairstyle for dudes. Motley Crue was still making absolute bangers, and Eye of the Tiger was on Eye of the Tiger was on the radio. It was a single. I'm sorry, I'm just so excited. The 80s really were an iconic time in American history for a lot of reasons, but perhaps one of the biggest reasons the 80s really rocked our socks, if you're into horsepower like we are, then you probably already know. The 80s brought with it a lot of change to vehicles all around the world, including the adaptation of turbochargers in passenger vehicles. But where did the turbo come from? And what made it popular? Great news here is I'm Dustin with Custom Offsets. You guys can follow me on the old Instagram at dusty.co. I also have a turbo diesel, so that's pretty cool. And today, we're curling our hair, we're dropping the 8-track into the player, and we're finding out just why the 80s were right and why we should turbo the world. Let's get it. Now listen, before we can even talk about turbos, I want to take a second and chat about how you could be the proud new owner of a turbo diesel. That's right, we're doing another giveaway, and this time we kicked it a nickel, and it's not like anything we've ever done before. We've talked about it forever, but now we are actually doing it. We've teamed up with TIS Wheels to give away a whole truck. And it's not just like a regular pickup truck that you'd see on the street, but it's our most recent SEMA build, a 2017 Ford F350 Super Duty on a massive Kelderman Air Ride lift kit. And listen, this thing's freaking huge. You can check out the whole giveaway truck and get entered to win at customoffsets.com/giveaway. It's that simple. Check it out. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got bottle openers and all sorts of other cool stuff. It's awesome. But that's enough of that. Let's actually talk turbos. Well, the 80s may be where turbos really took off. They actually date all the way back to the late 1800s. See, back then, guys that have familiar names like Gottlieb Daimler and Rudolf Diesel were working on ways to increase power output from their engines while reducing fuel consumption. Daimler had been recorded on working on a gear-driven induction pump as early as 1885, which is like 200 years before I was born. It wasn't until 1905, though, that turbos would really begin to take shape, both metaphorically and figuratively. This would come to the world from a man by the name of Alfred Bucci, who was the head of diesel research at the Gebruder Sulzer Company. Say that 5 times fast. I know that I probably can't because, well, yeah. Bucci came up with this neat idea where a compressor was driven by exhaust gases, and that would then force air into the diesel engine to increase power output. And thus, the turbo was born. By 1954, European companies like MAN and Volvo began building trucks powered by turbo diesels. Most of these trucks would be heavy-duty, semi-truck style trucks made to haul heavy loads and keep up with normal traffic, which was much faster than the regular heavy-duty trucks at the time. It's a lot like driving a Ford, right? They're just a little slower. I'm sorry, Jared. I can't help it. Now listen, this is where it gets spicy, right? If you go back in the history books, they're gonna tell you that Dodge was the first to introduce the turbo diesel engine in their pickups, which is like 50% right? It's like, it's kind of right, but it's kind of wrong. It's kind of like when you and your girlfriend disagree and neither one of you is really wrong, so you're both kind of wrong, but you're also both kind of right?
Nope.
Well, it is true that the Dodge and Cummins partnership would be the first official trucks to hit the market from the factory with a turbo diesel option. There was another option that came about a year prior that would make any truck enthusiast proud. When you think of the OGs of truck performance, there's a couple of guys that come to mind, but probably few as renowned as the one and only Gale Banks. Gale Banks is the founder and owner and CEO of Banks Engineering, an automotive performance shop out of the little town of Azusa, California. Beautiful country, by the way. We were just there a couple weeks ago. Gale has a lot of experience when it comes to horsepower, and while we're not here to talk about that, we couldn't talk about turbos without talking about the Banks Engineering Sidewinder Turbo Kit. Let me set the stage for you, right? So it's the early 80s, and General Motors has just released its new Firebird. Just like every other company, when you come out swinging with a hot new mullet machine with an 8-track player and, T-tops, and leather seats, and all that cool stuff, you want to show the world what it's got. If you're looking to set speed records, there's only one place to go, and that is the Bonneville Salt Flats in beautiful Utah. By this time, Gale Banks already had set a handful of land speed records in all sorts of vehicles, from boats to bikes to cars and more, because that's just what Gale does. So naturally, General Motors wanted the best, so they reached out to him and were like, hey man, do you think that you could set a speed record in our new car for us, because that would be really cool. And Gale, being the hot rodder by nature, was like, yeah, I'm in, let's do it. So off they go, right, southbound to Bonneville with 2 General Motors trucks towing the car and then some various supplies, both of which had the 6.2-liter Detroit diesel engine at the time. Now this is where it gets fun, right? Listen, I don't know if you've ever been in an early 80s Detroit diesel, but it's not fun. If you absolutely mat the pedal to the floor, the whole thing sounds like it's gonna come apart, and you still can't even get up to highway speed by the time you're going down the end of a downhill on-ramp with the wind at your back. This just didn't sit right with Gale, right? He's a horsepower guy. So naturally, he was so dissatisfied with it that as soon as they returned to California, Gale began working on a turbo kit for these trucks. And after a few attempts and some late nights at the shop, Gale rolled out a turbo kit for the Detroit diesels at the time. This kit would pair seamlessly with the trucks, utilizing factory hardware where possible to mount and ultimately increasing engine horsepower significantly. When Gale showed this design to the guys over at General Motors, they loved it so much that they actually began offering them as a dealer available option. That's right, by 1988, you could go down to your local General Motors dealer, scoop up a brand new square body pickup truck and upfit it with a Gale Banks Sidewinder turbo kit from the dealer. This would come a full year before the Cummins guys introduced their turbo diesel kit, making Gale Banks essentially the founder of the performance diesel market. It's one of the coolest stories I've ever learned in my life. It's just wild. While a lot has changed since then, the fact still remains that turbos truly changed the way the world looks at diesel performance and truly performance in general, right? Nowadays, you can get a turbo in everything from an F-150 to a Honda Civic to a snowmobile to a Peterbilt to a turbo diesel and everything in between. Turbos truly have changed the world, and we couldn't be more excited to see what else forced induction can do for the world of performance as we move forward. Have you guys ever owned a turbo vehicle, gas or diesel? What was the experience like? Let us know down in the comment section below, and as always, be sure to subscribe to the channel and share the video with a friend maybe if you haven't already, because that would be really cool. With that, I'm Dustin with Custom Offsets, and I'll see you guys on the next one.